in Osun State. By the way, it was quite a controversial one. Press releases, piece of advice here and there. An advice was given by the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, on this matter, stemming from that appeal court judgment that was given on February 10, the appeal court sitting in Akure, who struck out, a particular suit of that of the PDP, but then it wasn't expressly stated there, categorically and lyrically stated, if actually those chairmen that were sacked by the court in 2022 have been reinstated. By the way, because of time, some of them have gone back to the local government secretariats. We learned 25 of those local governments under the control of the APC. That was what the APC told us, even on this program. A chieftain of that party told us last Thursday or thereabout, or Friday, Thursday, I guess. And then, towards that election, the security was a bit compromised and inhibited, and all of those things. 6 persons officially lost their lives, while the chaos was happening about the retaking or resumption of those sacked chairmen and all of those things. The governor came out to say, please, everybody should stay clear of the local government secretariat. OSIEC, the independent body, so pretending the election in Osun State, that's the Osun State Independent Electoral Commission, came out to say whatever is happening at the court doesn't have anything to do with them. They went ahead with the elections. Just a day before, the police hierarchy gave a statement and advice, saying maybe the local government election should be suspended. They advised the state government and OSIEC. OSIEC said they were going to go ahead, and they went ahead. And that elections, part of what you are seeing on our screen right now, went ahead, and 30 local governments in Osun State had, elected chairmen and councillors as well, all of them of the PDP. Yesterday, right there at the State House, they were inaugurated, all of them, and the governor spoke at that event as well. But then, we have with us today, senior reporter and chief editor of the station, Western Spring Television, who covered that event, with all of his colleagues. He's going to be speaking to us his experience of what he saw, what he learned on that day while on the field, and a brief review of what transpired in that election. Olalekan Akindoju joins us right now. Good morning, Lekon. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you.
All right, very well. The election into the offices of the chairman and councillors was held at the weekend. You were on the field. I would like you to give us a brief assessment of what happened on the day.
So yes, of course, you rightly have spoken about the controversies that led to this election. Ahead of this election, there were lots of controversies, and it appeared as if the controversies that preceded that election, some of the results were seen on the day of the election. What I mean by that is that the people did not really come out because of fears, of course. And we also saw what I would call an accelerated process. What happened on election day was that in some places, as early as 7:30, election had held, 7:30, 8 a.m. in some places. And of course, it was because of, according to the officials of OSIEC, the fears that there may be trouble, that there may be violence on election day, led to that kind of accelerated process. We of course, I was at the polling unit of the governor. That's Abogunde, that's in Ede North local government area of the state. And before 8 a.m., something we are not used to, the governor voted. The governor voted around 7:50 a.m. We're not used to, because in this part of the world, elections don't start until 8 a.m. That's the earliest that I think we found around. But it appeared that the plans were to hold that election as early as possible. And at that particular place, at 8:30, election had concluded. That before 9 a.m., election had concluded in some areas. And that was what some of the things we saw, and I also observed that the ahead of a day to the election, the Nigeria Police Force released a statement advising that Osun State should not go ahead with the local government election because of perceived, of course, they said they had information that there would be violence on election day, widespread, they said. But on election day, of course, there was no widespread violence. But what we saw was that police officials did not go to the polling units. What they did was they stayed away, but they ensured that there was somewhat a feel of a secured environment because they were on the highways checking vehicles and of course ensuring that that there was peace on election day. But of course we expected that they would be at the polling units in the morning. They did not go there. The officials we saw, security officials we saw, were Amotekun operatives on election day. And beyond that, also I also observed that majority of those who really came out to vote would have been loyalists of a particular political party, because the people on the streets were not really interested. I mean, the generality of the people were not really interested, number one, and there were fears. It appeared as if they felt that there would be violence on election day, because we remember what happened last week Monday, where people lost their lives due to of course, plans to take over local government secretariats by the APC, and the rejection of that plan by, of course, members of the PDP. So that's basically some of the things that I observed on election day.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Generally, we saw some comments on the, some persons have come out to talk about the election generally. The APC said it was a jamboree. Some persons said they didn't actually find the OCEC officials to be able to cast their vote in some areas. And some areas also talked about that there were no polling units or voting didn't actually happen in these areas. Now, you talked about the election. You said it was a form of an accelerated election, and it's something we've not seen before. Judging from that, most persons didn't come out to vote. Are we going to actually say that this election was actually a very free and fair election? Should we term it that?
Okay, I may not be in the position to judge if the election was free and fair, but the opinion I can give is that, of course, OCEC did. I don't think OCEC gave guidelines with regards to the time polls will open and the times polls will close. I think that was, but there was a statement from the governor a day before that election, the night before, saying that the election would be fast tracked, he said. And I think, of course, some people who said that there were places where elections did not hold, some polling units where they did not see OCEC officials might have been right. Because, of course, I also observed that there were places where, because, of course, if you're going out before 8 a.m., what usually happens in past elections that I have been able to observe is that you get to see polling officials setting up. They will set up before 8 a.m. in polling units. And I, of course, observed that in a number of places, they were not there. But the OCEC chairman, of course, I spoke with him, and he said some of his officials were arrested. He also released a statement yesterday saying some of them are still in the custody of security operatives and they're working to release them. So it's possible that maybe it was on their way to the polling units that they were arrested, or it's possible that probably after they left the polling units for some, because he also claimed that some were arrested with the materials. So those are some of the issues that we would, of course, continue to talk about. But when it comes to the election being free and fair, the APC has, of course, rejected that election. I also would ask on what basis, because the APC did not participate in the election. You know, they withdrew from the election before the day. So, of course, they are claiming that they are in charge of the local government secretariats at this time. So they said there was no reason for them to participate in an election that should not ordinarily, in their words, should not have held. So I think that those are the issues. But when it comes to it being free and fair, we would of course leave it to some other, of course, maybe observers and others who would of course be able to speak about the process too.
All right. And let's look at the security angle to this. The police give their advice and say, please suspend these election. But, you know, the government said, thank you, we are going to go ahead with it, with or without you. And OSEC went ahead with that. But then that didn't come without his own, you know, some fisticuffs. The OSEC chairman came out to say the office was locked a day before election, and that affected, in fact, the distribution of accreditation materials and all of those things. They had to take, you know, that coordination from, in as much they have been locked out from their secretariat to the State House, the government house, and in fact, the announcement of the winners happened there as well. Now, talking about the police, in places that you visited and your colleagues as well, what was the operation of the police? Were they at the polling units or were they on the roads? Did you see them at all?
Yes.
And if you can please speak up.
Okay. Operatives of the police were on the highways. We did not, of course, they were not at the polling units. I need to stress that. But they were on the streets, they were on the highways at almost every intersection. If you're going from a particular place, if we use Osogbo as an example now, if you're going from Old Garage to Olaiya, to Ayekale, and you know some other places, they were on the roads. What they were doing were checking, of course, ID cards, they were checking vehicles, they were, of course, ensuring that there was you know, a sense of calm on the roads. And so that's what really happened with the operations of the police. And of course, the OSEC chairman spoke about the fact that the office was sealed. We were there on election day. There were a number of police operatives who lined that particular road and, you know, cut off movement to the OSEC headquarters. And beyond that also, we tried to even gain access to the place. We were told to just take the pictures we wanted to take and leave immediately. Of course, even before the day of election, I think most officials had left their office, maybe because of fears also, because they had also envisaged that something like that would have happened. On election day. So, but with the way the police, you know, the events of Monday would, of course, would make anybody think that election on Saturday would be bloody, because, of course, there was a party laying claim to the local government offices, and one other was trying to hold an election. So. But we did not. But I need to state that it appeared one person was killed in Ilesha. That was on election day. That was also, and the PDP released a statement asking the security operatives to ensure that they investigate the death of that person. But beyond all of that, we should say that the process, the election day, was not tense. It was not a day that was filled with violence. We did not see, you know, what we thought we would see on election day. Maybe that was due to the fact that the election concluded even before so many people were awake.
Oh, okay. You said the election was concluded before so many persons were awake. We have always known elections in Nigeria as having restriction of vehicular movements and people except you're actually going to vote. But in this case, reports were coming in saying that vehicular movements were not actually restricted like what we've been used to. That's what made me ask the question if it was actually free and fair. And then another question I have to ask is, actually, I would ask straight up, did you see PDP having this landslide victory?
Okay, did I see the PDP winning the elections by a landslide? Before the election, you mean?
Yes, please.
Yes, of course. It was clear because we are aware that there are two major political parties now still in the country, and there's a third one, the Labour Party, still trying to, of course, get into the mix. If we look at what occurred in the presidential elections that was held about 2 years ago. So yes. So, but at this time, it was clear that the PDP would win that particular election because the major opposition party in the state, the APC, had withdrawn. So it was clear that, of course, they were not in the race, and there was just one party aside the others. OCL claims that about 18 political parties participated, but I should say that there were about 15 political parties that we would say participated. But even on the field, most of the people we saw were people or were candidates and of the PDP officials, even other political parties. It was just one place that I saw an official, a candidate, in terms of the Labour Party. That was in Okebale area of the state, and of course he was there. He had some complaints also. He said that he was not allowed to vote. That was his complaint. But some people would say that his party had also withdrawn from the election before a day before, because the Labour Party released a statement a day before that local government election, and they advised that the election should be postponed by about 2 months because of the palpable tension in the streets in the state. So, but it appeared that advice also, like the others that were given by the Nigeria Police and the Attorney General of the Federation, it appeared, of course, that advice was not heeded, and the election eventually went ahead. But the Labour Party pulled out, the Allied People's Movement, the APM, pulled out of the election, and the All Progressives Congress, the APC, also pulled out. So it was clear that the PDP would win that election. But of course, what we do not have at this time is a number of votes, and of course, we'll be asking OCEC to provide
exactly my question. Details. You know, as we take it home, I wanted to ask you, many persons, including I've been asking, the breakdown of who got what per local government. Yeah. We are yet to see that.
Yes. Yeah, of course, we are yet to see that. But OCEC promised that in due course, it would release the details of the election. We're waiting to see, but of course, these elected officials have been sworn in.
All right.
They are expected to resume, but they've been told to not resume at the local government secretariat for now by the governor, because he says he wants to avoid any clash with the local government secretariat.
Thank you very much. WSTV's reporter and chief editor, Olaleko Akindoju. Thank you for doing a good job, and of course, your team as well.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. That is where we put the brakes today. The election has come and gone. What follows is what we are waiting for right now. We hope it's peaceful. Whoever is doing whatever, let it be within the confines of the law. Yeah.
Right. It's quite a lot today, talking about the books, the book of IBB and the annulment, and back to Osun State. We came down to Osun State and the elections and everything. Like we talked about, whatever is going to happen, it should be within the confines of the law. I remain Uzom Sokechukwu. We'll see you tomorrow for the Tuesday edition of Morning Spring. Stay safe.
Right, stay safe. And, you know, from our end here, let me remind you that you could have a recap of this program on your YouTube, on our YouTube page at Western Spring TV. And we're also on our various social media platforms on X, on Instagram, on Facebook, even on TikTok. You'll find us there, all at Western Spring Television. But for YouTube, it's Western Spring TV. This particular program, this particular episode is there, and all the exciting programs of ours, on this channel. The channel is channel 190 on StarTimes DTT. And they usually say Monday official. We have started it here,
right.
And many persons are very serious. We should be serious as we are here. But sometimes, calm down, be relaxed.
Right.
And so that you can focus on the work, so that you are not nervous. And maybe that's why the Governor Adeleke, at the swearing yesterday, obviously he was happy. In his usual characteristic singing and dancing manner, he gave the people something to cheer about. And that is what we leave you with right now. Femi Ojo is my name. Have a smiling, Monday.